All right, today we're going to make cream of broccoli soup. So first thing that you need is the same thing you need for every soup that you're probably ever going to make is onions, carrots, and celery. Then we're also going to use some chicken broth, right? Really, any brand is okay. Much better than bouillon cubes, though. Just get the broth. We're going to need pepper and salt and pepper. Some cream, you can use light cream or heavy cream. We're using light today. And then some broccoli and olive oil. You can use vegetable oil if you want, but I like the flavor of olive oil better. A decent sized pot with a lid, with a nice thick bottom so that we can saute our vegetables in there and do everything in one pot. Then we're also going to need for this particular soup a blender and a strainer. All right, let's get cooking. Okay, we got some peeled carrots. So you want to cut them down the middle, from the back to the tip, and that way they don't slide out from under you, which is pretty easy to have. Then you cut them that way. And then you got something easy that you can cut up quickly. And of course, just be careful, with your fingers. See, then you can cut these quarters. It's pretty easy to then, slice them. And then they all are regularly and, uniform. But with the soup we're making today, which is cream of broccoli, they really don't have to be because we're actually going to put it through the blender like I mentioned. Okay, we're also going to need to cut up our celery. So we're probably going to use about 3 stalks for this. And by the way, I used all of those carrots. There were 5 little carrots. They were pretty scrawny. If you had big carrots, you could probably use 3. You basically want to end up with, probably about 2 cups of carrots. Okay, I took a minute to rinse the celery because celery at the root, when you pull it off, is usually pretty dirty. So you want to cut off the bottoms and get rid of that kind of dirty part. And I usually cut off the very tops because they're dry. Is that Sous Chef Salty?
No, that was Chi-Chi.
Ah, Sous Chef Chi-Chi. Nice. Puppies. Okay, and then the celery, basically, with pretty much any soup, you can hold it pretty easily if you put it upside down and cut it down the middle with the knife, and just always be very careful. And then that gives you something very easy to then slice up, just like we did with the carrot. So like I said, it's 3 stalks of celery, and I'll see you when we get back to the onion. We're also going to dice up this Vidalia onion. So get a good grip on it and, cut into it with the skin, pushing down and forward, away from you, and cut off the top and the bottom. And this makes it easy to peel. Basically, you can grab the outside. After you did that, you just pull it. And it's okay if you pull away some of the, first layer of the onion and the skin. You always want to make sure you wipe off your knife because there's always going to be some onion skin on there, and that'll be very bitter if it gets mixed in with our onions. Okay, so I take this onion and I'm going to slice it down the middle so I have 2 equal halves, and this is how I'm going to dice it up. It's going to be pretty, medium-sized dice, so I just did that into 4 slices, and then you can take each slice. You got a pretty even dice that's easy to work with and saute. Okay, after you finish that whole onion, you want to dice it up. It's a decent amount of onion. So we've got like I said, the 4 or 5 carrots, small ones, 3 if they were large, 1 decent sized Vidalia onion diced up, and now what we're going to do, 3 stalks of celery as well that were diced up. Now we're going to trim broccoli, and broccoli is pretty easy. If you were going to use broccoli and you were trimming it for anything else, you might just. What we're going to do is we're going to separate the florets from most of the, the stalk material. Okay, so the florets came off really easily, and I separated them, and now I've got the stalk. So with the stalk, I basically, you're going to want to cut it up. It doesn't have to be pretty because, like I said, this is going to all end up going through the blender. But just in something that, makes it easy for you to, basically cut it into chunks that are pretty small. This way the flavor of the broccoli is really going to get into our soup. And you can see about how big it is if you want to, chunks like that. And any big chunks, you might want to just, cut them down the middle like that so everything gets cooked evenly.
How much broccoli do you use?
Well, we've got 2 medium-sized crowns today, and we're going to probably end up with maybe a half-gallon soup. Okay, so we're ready to saute our vegetables. And also, I did lie to you. You also need, in addition to the things I stated before, you will need a peeler, obviously, because we peeled those carrots. And you do need one other pot, and I'll show you why in a bit. Okay, so we've got about, I'd say, 2 to 3 ounces of olive oil in this pot. This is a pretty big pot, but there's a lot of vegetables for us to cook. There's a pretty even amount of carrots, onions, and celery in here. Let's get them in there. And we want to cook these, you don't want to cook them on really high heat, because then they're going to get bitter, and we don't want that. So I've got this, as you can see, my olive oil is hot. It's been heating up for a few minutes, but I got the temperature pretty low. But I'm going to want to do this at about medium, to, okay. And I shake that up a little bit just to make sure so there's no dry spots on the bottom. And then I'm going to hit it with a little salt and pepper. Nothing crazy, but enough so we're going to get some flavor out of it. Now, when it comes to salt and pepper, some people like a little and some people like a lot. If you're eating one of my soups, I hope you like a lot. So it's one of those things that's very, I like a lot of salt and pepper, and I find it brings out the flavor in most things. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we want to have a wooden spoon. Like I said, we've got this on medium. And we're just going to make sure that we move it around so that there's nothing getting stuck to the bottom of the pan, getting bitter. And then we're going to cover this up, and we're kind of going to just let those vegetables saute at a relatively low temperature until they're started to cook. I'm going to say like 10, 12, 15 minutes, and then we're going to add some of this broccoli. So we'll check back then. Okay, so while we're cooking these vegetables, I would say, don't go too far away. And every, 3 to 4 minutes, you're going to want to open it up and just, move everything around. And make sure that everything's getting cooked evenly. And that's what the wooden spoon is really doing. Another thing that you do is just, you can take the pot, and you don't have to pick it up or anything, but just shake it back and forth, and that evenly distributes everything. Put the lid right back on. And the more time you have with the lid on and off, the faster it's going to cook. Okay, so our vegetables, we want to, pull this lid off every 3 or 4 minutes, and this is what you're going to see. So this is the kind of color we're looking to get. See how, and you want to move everything around so nothing sticks. And it's important to do this at a relatively mild heat. You don't want to turn it up all the way. You find that makes the vegetables bitter, and it's going to make the soup not taste as good as it should. So, move everything around, and that way, like I said, we're about halfway through that 15 minutes. So, check that. Okay, so now it's been about, I'd say, 15 minutes with the oven, the stove on about 4. And this is what your vegetables are going to look like. They're, the onions are just about clear. And you can see things are kind of, the celery's definitely softened up, turned a lighter color. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our broccoli, the chunks that I cut of the stem portion, we're going to throw that in, and we're going to continue to saute that just like we've been doing with the onions and carrots. Now, the reason I separated the florets is because there's 2 schools of thought on cream of broccoli soup. Okay, so, I chopped up those florets. Like I said, you could have put them to the side and maybe just blanched them in hot water for, like boiling water for maybe, 1 minute, and then put them in the soup on the side or as a garnish. A lot of ways you can serve cream of broccoli soup. But basically, we're putting all the broccoli in there, and we're sautéing it with the rest of our vegetables for, like I said, about another 10-15 minutes, just so it softens up, and then we're going to add our stock and continue making our soup. Sous Chef Chi-Chi and Sous Chef Salty say hello, too. All right, back in about 10 minutes. Okay, so anyway, the broccoli, see how it gets really bright green? That's when you know it's starting to cook. And I've got everything, like I said, I've got the temperature on about, medium, little under medium. And if you feel like you don't have enough oil in the pan, you can add some more. That's okay.
Oh.
Okay, so broccoli's nice and cooked. As you can see, it's bright green. Oh, it looks so good. It smells fantastic. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our chicken stock, or broth, and we're going to pour it in slowly. I like to stop like after I put maybe a cup in and just kind of move it around because you want to get a lot of that stuff off the bottom. And just stir it up. You want to get that off the bottom early, okay? And then we're going to turn the temperature of the oven up because we're going to pour some stock in here. I like my cream of broccoli soup to get thick from just being lots and lots of broccoli instead of like using a roux or flour. So there's other ways to make cream of broccoli soup, but this way you're really getting just the broccoli and it's, I don't know, it just tastes better. So I ended up putting all 64 ounces, 2 boxes of chicken stock into the soup, and it's still super duper thick. So we're going to end up with a half gallon, kind of just like the original prediction. I'm going to let this come to a boil. Got it turned up all the way, and as soon as this stock comes to a boil, we're going to turn it down to a simmer and put the top on it, and we're going to let it simmer for about 30-40 minutes till everything is, pretty soft. Okay, thanks. Okay, and this is what simmering should look like. You're not boiling it. You've got it on a really low temperature. I've got the stove top, down there. Okay, so we've been simmering this soup for 45 minutes, and as you can see, nice rolling slow simmer. We've got a nice thick broccoli stock that is just going to be out of this world. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use a ladle, and we're going to put this into our blender and get it nice and smooth. So we've ladled in a bunch of soup, and what we're going to do is we're just going to blend it in the blender. Hit the off, ice crush thing a few times just to make sure you get everything. You don't need to go crazy, just enough to make sure it's nice and smooth, blended together. And that's why we need this second pot that I mentioned, so that we can pour it in there. All right, so we're going to blend this all up, and we'll see you after that. Okay, so after the blender, poured it back into the stock pot, and it's back on the stove, and it's low medium, and that's what we've got. We've got a nice thick hearty soup, and I haven't even put any cream in it yet. It's going to just take the only thing the cream is for really is for color. So let's get nice and hot again. Then we'll pour a little bit of light cream in there until we get it the right color and consistency, and that'll be that. Soup will be done, and we'll put it to the taste test. All right.
Can I have some pepper?
Okay, so here's the finished product. We've got a nice, creamy, thick soup. I put about 8 ounces of that light cream in there to give us the, the desired color that we're looking for. And you can see it's, it's not super thick like a, dessert cream or something, but it's like exactly what you'd want a cream soup to be. And now it's left as a taste test. Let's see what we got.
It's delicious.